Oh, yeah. Covert Go Chill. Good evening. That came in hot. All right. Tonight, Osgir, the last deck I need to make for the Strixhaven Champs. Two of them I made off camera because sometimes I do it on my iPad. Osgir, the Reconstructor. This is going to be my deck for the Strixhaven Championships. Let's get our font size nice and big. You guys can see. And this time we're going to create from scratch. Last night I showed you how I create using an EDH Rec average deck. Well, you know what? Nah, it made for a shorter video. It's fine. In fact, I think some people might enjoy this. I'm not sponsored by EDH Rec. Wish I were. Definitely going to make them look cool on this one. So up here, we're going to search for Osgir. Like I mentioned, it's about showing the average deck. Like, it's about not necessarily putting our own creative spin on everything. It's about having a good game with the versions of the deck that are people who play the deck are likely to recognize. Wow, holy crap, I have too many decks. You think I'm gonna set a record for most decks uploaded to Moxfield? There we go. So we import our average deck. Our average deck is worth $287, and then we work on building around that. So Osgir, the Reconstructor, is 2 a red and white for 4/4 giant artificer with vigilance. For 1 open-ended mana, sacrifice an artifact. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. And then X and a tap to exile an artifact with mana value X from your graveyard. Create 2 tokens that are copies of the exiled card. So we double up on artifacts in the graveyard. And right away, of course, they want to show us a whole bunch of artifacts. What the hell is... No, get that off of here. There. Yes, I recognize you now. I can't, oh my god, I can't take the weird secret layers. Oh, I can't take it at all. Give me this goblin welder, please, so I can recognize it. Anybody else want to look just absolutely ugly on this video? Oh my goodness. All right, 25 creatures is a good number. Obviously, Angel of Ruins is solid. Alibo. This was from another artifact precon. I think it's the backup commander here. Other artifacts have haste. Awesome. Whenever 1 or more artifact creatures attack, plus X damage to any target, and you scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. I mean, it's all about the graveyard. It's all about getting things into the graveyard. But fortunately, Osgir also is a sacrifice outlet to help get artifacts into the graveyard. This or another historic permanent enters 1 damage to each opponent and you gain 1 life. Nice. It's a good Assassin's Creed card. Normally the average deck function on EDH Rec does a pretty good job giving you a few new cards to shine in your deck. And at first you look at it and you're like, okay, this is a completed deck. We did it. Everything's good. There's nothing I need to add. The truth is that the more you look at it, the more you start to find the things that work and don't work. So I immediately see a Basalt Monolith. That gives me infinite mana vibes. Infinites are particularly problematic for content, but even more so for specifically when I do them, because people hate me. So whenever an artifact and ability, if it isn't a mana ability, pay 2. If you do, copy it. Okay, that's infinite with Basalt Monolith. There's also very, very rude things here. Karn the Great Creator is particularly rude when you are shutting down all of your opponent's artifacts, but like if you run Mycosynth Lattice in this deck, it's absolutely brutal, but it's not here. There is no Lattice in this particular deck, so I don't think it's a big deal. Karn, they can deal with Karn. The other decks in the pod are Life Gain and Drain, Dina, We saw Adrix and Nev the other day. And then there's one more. And it's, what is Blake playing? What is Blake playing? It was something I was, oh yeah, Veyran, so it's Storm. So I don't even think that this Karn is that bad, given that information. So let's start simple. We want more interaction, and we can usually do it in place of lands. This land count is way too low. 32? Y'all crazy. Absolutely crazy. They do have at least there's an elegant parlor here. Let's get some of that interaction in here. Iganjo. Seed of the Empire. Excellent channel land that interacts. Shatter Skull Smashing. Interaction in the form of an MDFC. What's another one is Witch Enchanter. It's another one. And Razor Grass Ambush, which I don't find very good most of the time in this, to be honest. It's pretty rare that I actually cast the Razor Grass Ambush, but it is a combat trick which people rarely play around. Switch you up. Go over here. We got some artifact lands. We can somewhat ramp by sacrificing or somehow milling an artifact land into the graveyard, at which point we can then reanimate it as 2-ofs. So I guess these lands are good here? I guess they are. All right, any other red-white lands? We're on 33 with now 36 with MDFCs, which is better. Gets a lot of jobs done. Exotic Orchard is in here. There's no Buried Ruin, but we shouldn't really need it with our commander. I'm trying to think of other lands that go specifically with a good amount of artifacts. Inventor's Fair is a good one, which I like to run. An artifact tutor that also gains you life just by being there as a land every turn. Not like amazing, but you never know. Monumental Henge reveals historic cards. It's like Escanta, but for storage cards. That's pretty cool. And we've got Boros Garrison. This is a deck that gets its land count up and wants to be able to cast very large artifacts. Now, some of those artifacts aren't featured here yet, but for content, what I want from this deck is a very explosive deck that plays very big artifacts. So I think that's a Temple of the False God deck. I think that's an Ancient Tomb deck. I've started to embrace Ancient Tomb in content games way more because Ancient Tomb makes games end at a pretty good pace, quite honestly, without being insanely overpowered. It's really good. It's not absolutely busted. I'm gonna remove the Garrison because I find it slow. I have never activated this vault. Maybe I would in Osgir because of the reanimation ability. I've also never activated the Monumental Henge. Like, I see why it's here, but I feel like the deck doesn't want it. There's always a risk of these things entering tapped, and that's always a very bad thing. Like, see how there's not even a Clifftop Retreat here? There isn't an Arid Mesa either. In fact, in general, we've got a lot more lands that just produce one color of mana, like Ancient Den and Great Furnace. So we can cut a few more basics. Just a couple. If I get it down to like 35, including MDFCs, that should be okay. You can definitely go higher on lands if you want to. I tend to go low on commander decks for content. Specifically because flooding out is boring and lame. Darksteel Mutation's an interesting interactive piece there, and I'm not sure that I love it. It doesn't exactly synergize. I think I'm gonna go with Get Lost instead, which is a card I really enjoy. And we have Dispatch, we have Path to Exile, Boros Charm, Dawn's Truth, no Teferi's Protection. We've got to have that. Give me a Teferi's Pro. Yep. Cut my Boros Charm. Sorry, Boros Charm. Command Answers is an interesting one. Is this the Faithless Looting deck? It sure is. Reckless Handling. Not a card I'm a big fan of. Reconstruct History is a card I am a big fan of, and this deck particularly likes it. Wake the Past as well. I am curious, how many ways do we have to fill the graveyard? We really want to get artifacts into our graveyard for our commander, and our commander can sacrifice artifacts we play, but it's even better if we can somehow dump or mill artifacts into our graveyard. That said, I don't want to run like Mesmeric Orb. I've fueled my opponent's decks way too often with that card. I like the Triplicate Titan. I like the Wormcoil Engine. What's missing, let me read this card again. Exile an artifact with mana value X. Create 2 tokens. So it would be 9 mana to exile like a Portal to Phyrexia. Is this a deck that wants to run giant artifacts and reanimate them? We've got cards like Goblin Engineer and Goblin Welder that are doing some of these things. I don't know about that. I don't know. I also am not absolutely confident that we're just filling our graveyard that well. I do like the idea of this ramping to an extent. What I like even better is the idea of if you can untap this and use it multiple times a turn. So what does that? Sting does that, right? But Sting isn't a good one to copy because it's legendary. 1000-Year Elixir does that. All right, that's fine. Drum Bellower is a creature that does that. Bracers copies equip costs. There's a lot of cards here that I'm not like a huge fan of because they seem like win more and the deck needs some vegetables. I think we've got enough interaction. I want card draw. I want lots of card draw. Is this an Idol of Oblivion deck? It probably is. We're making tokens with our commander. So Kezia welcome. And other artifacts that draw cards, like the Signet. Ichor Wellspring, that's in here. Yep. There's another one that leaves the battlefield and gets you things. Circuit Mender. It like has an enters and leaves. Doubling up on like that is good value. Solemn Simulacrum's here. Yeah, let's go Circuit Mender. I definitely want more things that just like enter draw. I'm trying to think of like an artifact. Like there's Spirited Companion, but that's an enchantment. Fable the Mirror Breaker. Interesting card, right? We don't have many enchantments, but Fable fills the graveyard. It's a pretty good card. Good vegetables. What are the red staples? Especially those that interact with artifacts. I don't know if I really want to go Basalt Monolith infinite mana. Let me read. Is this an outlet with infinite mana? 1 mana, sacrifice an artifact, +2/+0. Not really. Not really. But what else can we do with that big old power boost? That would be very effective. I like the combustible Gear Hulk. I've seen where making 2 Gear Hulks is absolutely busted. I definitely feel a little out of my element with this deck. Let's go read more of the cards that could go in Osgir that people like. We've got the Scholar. That's a way to draw cards. Oh yeah, this is still the same deck. All right, let's go to as commander and just go down the list. So Molten Gatekeeper. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, 1 damage to each opponent. Ooh. So like Impact Tremors as an artifact. Did I add that? Let's get that in there. There we go. Sculpting Steel, Battlesphere Elixir. Yep, no surprise there. Solemn, no surprise there. They like the Bracers a lot. Equip creature having haste and then activate abilities. Activate if it's in mana ability. Pay 1 if you do. Copy the ability. Choose new targets. Seems like asking a lot. And then there's like the artifact sacrifice stuff like Cart Clan Ironworks. I don't really want to get too much into that. Is there a Meteor Golem? I love the idea of having removal in these spots. And there is. Oh, Illustrious Wanderglyph is really good, right? Yeah, it is. They don't have that here. Let's get that in the deck. Really good card. It's a lot like Tendershoot Dryad, but for artifact creatures. Matter Weaver. Whenever you cast a creature spell, make a gnome or create a token that's a copy of target artifact token you control. So the good old make tokens duplicate tokens thing is really something. Oh, I have a Forge Master too. Let's go with Matter Weaver. Seems fun. Let's go with Forge Master. Actually, that card, no, I'm not actually that interested in that. What are we looking at for equipment? We have Greaves, we have Boots. This might be an interesting Stoneforge Mystic deck if I had like one more equipment that I was hyped about. So this is another deck where having like indestructible, like making 2 indestructible tokens is really good. Ooh, Thunderhulk. Yeah, I still haven't gotten to do 3-fold Thunderhulk things. Let's get that in there. 3-fold Thunderhulk. Brawr. Yeah, it enters with 3 counters and then makes, yeah. We're doing that stuff. How's our ramp? I didn't take a close look. The Foundry Inspector, look at all the 3-mana ramp, but where's like our 2-mana plays? We've got Signet, Talisman, Mind Stone. That's good because you can sacrifice it. Commander Sphere is good because you can sacrifice it and then make 2. I don't run that card very often anymore, but this seems like a fine deck for it. Still, that's not much. Let's get Felwar Stone in here. One of my faves. Can't hurt. How about Wayfarer's Bauble? It's hard to hold those. It's hard to hold those things up mana-wise, right? 1 mana, 2 mana, you've done nothing on board. 3 mana, you play Osgir, you have nothing in your graveyard yet. That doesn't seem great. Doesn't seem great. None of these cards are particularly exciting though either. Whenever you sack an artifact, put a counter on this and make red. Ooh, are we not running enough Crime Novelist? That seems like the kind of payoff we're looking for, right? Crime Novelist, yeah, cool. All right, we got a lot of these removal spells. We're interacting a decent amount. We're protecting with. We have 2 pieces of good protection, right? We have Dawn's Truce, we have Teferi's Protection. Kind of our big gotcha moments. But what else? I like the Cleansing Nova. Do we have the Austere command? And believe it or not, I might still run Farewell. I mean, Jessica's Will is just an absurdly good card if we end up running expensive cards, but it's just good anyway. Safine's Reclamation is pretty good. Okay, let's get the Austere command. Let's get Farewell. And what was I gonna add there? Thrilling Discovery is good. Strixhaven flavor. Jessica's Will is amazing. Vandal Blast is amazing. Vandal Blast. Not enough vegetables. Actually, we have several ways to blow up a lot of artifacts. Let's just keep it like that. Hot tub head. I was in the hot tub too long. I'm pretty tired. Thrilling Discovery. Safine's Reclamation. Safine's Reclamation. Let's go like that. What about like, so I used Brilliant Restoration in the past. Here we have Wake the Past, specifically artifacts. I guess that's fine. Reconstruct History seems really on theme. Yeah, this is all fine. Okay. We have 115 cards. Let's look at removal. We got a good amount of board wipes. Maybe we have too much targeted removal. We don't have a Lauren of the Third Path, which is a card I put everywhere. If it's white, it goes in there. Card is absolutely sweet. Sacrifice an artifact or discard a card seems perfect here. Yeah, I'll remove the Get Lost. I know I added it pretty recently. Pull from Eternity. Target face-up card that's removed from the game into its owner's graveyard. Nah, a little too narrow. All right, I like the map. I do not want the monolith. I do not want the bracers. I think that's a little bit win more. Signet, Commander Sphere, I get it. Coveted Jewel. Making 2 copies of these and drawing 6 is sweet. Curse Mirror is pretty sweet. Good clone effect. Hedron Archive and Thran Dynamo. Both can give you a ton of mana. The Dynamo seems a tad win more. I'm gonna cut the Rings of Bright Hearth, or am I? If you have this out, nah, we're gonna cut it. And I'm gonna cut the Forge. I really am not a believer in the top of the deck, and making copies of it just doesn't do much for me. I like this Wellspring. What is the key fetch? Basic land, mana ability. I guess it fetches the Coveted Jewel, which is pretty big game. I like the Mishra's Bauble. That is totally fine. Do I want Boots and Greaves? I'm usually fine with one or the other. 1,000-Year Elixir. I think I do want that. The Smithy is a new card. It's pretty good. Vexing Bauble. I just don't know if that's for my play group. It is a new card, though. Yeah, I'm going to cut Boots. I'm going to keep Greaves. I'm usually like, pick one, go with one. Also, is there anything else missing here? We got the Arid Mesa. We got the Sacred Foundry, right? Yeah. And we got the Elegant Parlor. Mana base good. All right. So 33 creatures, 11 sorceries, 7 instants, 21 artifacts. Pretty good mana generation all the way around. Do I need the Dynamo? The Dynamo just seems like a little bit win more. Still, we've got a ton of artifacts. Maybe it's just win. Genius. Whenever an artifact enters, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. It's a way to fill the graveyard, but this is a pretty awkward card to get out. It does help you get through your deck, though. Okay, Tyrant. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, gain control of artifacts. At the beginning of the upkeep, if you have 20 or more artifacts, you win the game. I don't think this is necessary. This is definitely a card that's like extra. A different kind of win con that I just don't think you want. Draws too much attention to yourself. Will probably rarely win the game. I like this. How about Urza Saga? What would that get? Soul Ring is pretty amazing. And Vexing Bauble, I guess it's not great. How about up here? Not a lot of ones. Esper Sentinel, of course, a very good card. Felding, create a token that's got to be a target creature, except it's an artifact. So this is like backup commander, right? Is it better than our commander? It's an interesting one, isn't it? It does feel a little win more. It feels like our commander is going to do a better job. And that a lot of things that would kill our commander are also going to kill Feldon, like board wipes. I'm going to remove Feldon. Doesn't seem necessary. Oswald is an interesting reusable tutor effect that feeds the yard. Scrap Trawler gets things out of the yard. But the whole thing with Osgir is that we want to exile cards in the yard. Scrap Trawler is a ton of value in a deck like this, but is that what we're about? Triplicate Titan at 9 mana seems very win more, and Steel Hellkite seems very... Well, you guys probably understand, at least to some extent, my opinion on Steel Hellkite these days. There was an artifact. What was it? It's in Ixalan. Give me Scryfall. It's in the new Ixalan. And I play it, it's a red artifact. I play it in Roxanne. And I don't remember the name of it right now. Let me see if I can find it. as far as like reanimating artifact creatures, it seems pretty good to me. In fact, there's probably a lot of stuff here that's pretty good in our deck, because the Ixalan definitely had this artificial theme. One or more creature tokens would be created, create triple. Like, is that, maybe that's just good with Osgir, but it's so expensive, right? Anyway, it was red. I got caught up in the white. Ooh, Brass's Tunnel Grinder. It's a legendary artifact, making 2 copies, but you get 2 of the effect. That seems really good, though. That seems to be everything we're looking for. I like finding cards that just aren't played enough in these decks and that time kind of forgot, because the commander came out a lot earlier and a lot of people don't update their commander decks with new cards. When Dowsing Device or another artifact enters the battlefield under your control, up to 1 target creature gets +1/+0 in haste. Transform this if you control 4 or more artifacts, and it transforms into a land. And on the backside, the land says 2 and a red, tap until in a turn target creature gains haste and gets this number, where X is the artifacts you control. That's awesome, right? That seems awesome in this deck. I feel like a god. Get in there. Any other sweet artifacts from this set? I wonder how good Inti is. Like, you discard an artifact, right? Oh, Lattice. Saheeli's Lattice, 1 and a red. When it enters the battlefield, you may discard a card. If you do, draw 2. Craft with dinosaurs. Probably never happening, but it is an artifact that can do the demand answers thing. And at the same time, it's an artifact, so you can reanimate it itself from the graveyard. You can sacrifice it itself to get deeper. So that's pretty cool. It's just, it's doing what we did with Adrix and Nev, making more things into creatures. We're making more things, more of our utility cards into artifacts, right? Whenever this attacks, you may tap 2 untapped artifacts or creatures you control. If you do, discover 3. Meh. Quintorius, not really. How about other artifacts? Like, I love, like, it's legendary, right? So making copies of Chimil isn't very good. Rowing Throne. Wrong deck, actually. How about the Great Door? That is an artifact that loots every turn and can fill our graveyard. It's not one we can reanimate because, you know, legendary, but this is one you cast, not one that you discard. You got the Thunderhulk, which I love. So many legendary artifacts these days, isn't there? What the heck's up with that? How am I supposed to make sweet copies if they're all legendary? Ixalan Commander, I think, had some interesting individual cards. 1 mana of any color. That's a 3 mana rock that crafts. When it attacks, draw a card, then discard a card, equip 1. Craft with 1 or more creatures. When Headdress, attach it to a creature. When it becomes attached to a creature, choose an exile creature card to craft. Equip creature as a copy of the card. I don't know, man. Some of these get really, really into the shit. Like, deep. I think that's where, like, this card goes. I thought there was some other artifact that was like a red flip artifact. And I thought it was in Ixalan Commander. But I think it was to do with spells, not artifacts. Oh yeah, this. Only cast instants for sorceries. Yeah. Nope, no big deal. All right, we're up to 111. We were starting to cut back, and we cut back up. Sacrifice an artifact, reveal cards from the top until you reveal an artifact. Put that card on the battlefield, the rest on the bottom in a random order. It deals damage to you equal to cards revealed this way. I don't know if I like that. It sounds like bad RNG just waiting to happen. That said, it does get things in the graveyard. I don't know. I don't like this card. Too much RNG for my taste. I like knowing what my cards will do. I like the Burnish Heart. Foundry Inspector, we already have good mana rocks. I like cost reduction a lot, though. Man, there's so many artifacts, too. I'm actually going to remove the Welder. It hasn't been reprinted in a long time. It's a very like dated card. Don't know about the Genius either. I like the other cards we've added to help draw discard better. Like Brass's Tunnel Grinder, we'll say, took the spot of the Genius. Matter Weaver. I mean, man, whenever you cast a creature spell, we're at 28 creatures. It's still a very high number. Seems good. Battlesphere is good for making a board, but we kind of replaced it with Threefold Thunderhulk. And it's 7 mana. You gotta be careful how many of those you have. I love the Worm Coil. Do I love Triplicate Titan? So expensive. If I'm gonna run a 9, I want Portal to Phyrexia and Cityscape Leveler. Like, I love those artifacts. I think a couple of 9s are okay with the amount of artifact ramp we have. All right, as far as filling the graveyard, I'm going to cut Demand Answers because I think we found a good replacement for that. And I don't even know if I want all this spot removal. I don't know if I want Path to Exile. I like the Dispatch. I think Dispatch fills in well. And I do like interaction generally, but we have too many things that are just like exile target creature. What if a creature is hexproof? We have a good amount of like sweepers, I guess. Thrilling Discovery we can remove, even though it's a good Strixhaven flavor card. Wake the Past I still don't like in this deck. I'm afraid I'm gonna exile too many of these artifacts, and I don't know, man. I don't see it. I don't see it the way I saw it in like Dr. Madison Lee, the way I saw it in Shorikai. I don't think this is right. Also, Reconstruct History gets worse the less of other types we have, and we're down to 2 enchantments. So the flavor I like, but the card can go. Whenever you cast an artifact, make construct. That's pretty good. Unfortunately, it is pretty good though. I think I want it. I've seen cards like this do incredible work. Goblin Engineer. I mean, that seems really good. I like that card a lot. "27 creatures. Scrap Trawler, honestly, I'm not sure I love it. Obviously, there's a good amount of value there, though. And Burnish Heart? I mean, I love the ramp. Would I rather have this or Thran Dynamo? Thran Dynamo. Thran Dynamo, not close. I actually have a soft spot for this card. It's a pretty hard one to cut, but I think I have to. No, maybe I don't. We have sweepers. Like, you Burnish Heart into a sweeper, and then later you get back Burnish Heart, and you're so solid. You're so solid! It's so good. I am really wishy-washy on this one. This is not my usual deck. I think the card I like the least is Foundry Inspector, and Foundry Inspector is a perfectly acceptable, fine, cost-reducing card. But man, I just don't like creatures that have to sit on the board to ramp me, because I don't trust creatures to live, and especially with more of this removal in my deck, more sweepers. Yeah, I don't trust it. I'm not a trusting person that way. 26 artifacts, 26 creatures, 2 planeswalkers. I'm going to cut Karn the Great Creator. I think this is a better Duretti deck. Filling the graveyard's great. Karn's a little mean. I think it can go. We are getting there. 2 cards, 2 little cards, 1 creature, and 1 artifact, and we are there. All right, worst artifact here. Is it 1,000-Year Elixir? Is it 1,000-Year Elixir? We have Dowsing Device now if we want like a haste. We don't have a lot of ways to untap, but do we need it? I think it's 1,000-Year Elixir. Just requires the commander to really do anything good. Doesn't work very well with any of the other creatures in our deck. Maybe with Oswald, but that's about it. Speaking of Oswald, this is a good Oswald deck. What's the creature that gets cut? I love all the interactive pieces like Duplicate, Meteor Golem, Cityscape Leveler, even Lauren, even though not an artifact. Steel Hellkite. Steel Hellkite. This dragon. I don't know, man. It might be Steel Hellkite. A lot of these other cards just kind of create big meatballs, but I think that's better than wrecking one person's board. We've got a lot of ways to wreck multiple boards. Steel Hellkite just doesn't seem right to me. It just doesn't seem like it. I know it's a standby. I know it's a staple. It doesn't seem like it to me. I think this is a deck. I think this deck's without Steel Hellkite. How wrong is that? Let me know in the comments. I'm gonna cut it. I know you guys are dying for that last cut, but there we go. All right, Osgir. This is going to be my deck for the Strixhaven Planar Championship. I've never played it before. I'm concerned. I have many thoughts, but you know what? We're gonna get out there. We're gonna do the thing. It's gonna be great. I look forward to using a lot of these cards in action. I think we added a good amount of vegetables. I think we have a good amount of protection, also a good amount of removal, so our opponents don't run away with the game, give us time to actually win games with all this value that we have. And there's some big top end, because that's always important too. I love it. I'm excited. All right. Thank you for watching tonight's Covert Go Chill. I'm sure there will be more gameplay in the near future. I haven't been able to brawl much. I've been so tired. I've just been so exhausted in the evening. I've been resting. I've been recording a lot of collabs that I'm excited are going to come out in near days. And to update the list, 28 days consecutive of exercise. Nice. It's nice. And 933 days. Streak 2.0. That does need a recount just because there's been a lot of weird math. But yeah, we'll call it 933 days of Streak 2.0. And I hope you enjoy these Covert After Dark, Covert Go Chill, whatever you want to call. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Let me know your thoughts on Commander deck building. Am I doing it all wrong? You're cool.